Hello, my name is Kenny Xie. I'm the scientific liaison at US Pharmacopoeia Convention and Food Chemicals Codex, a standard-setting organization. I got my PhD and MBA from the University of Maryland and received my certified food scientist credential from IFT since 2014. My career focused on the analytical materials and analytical techniques, adulteration detection, and non-targeted methods. I also consider myself a good reader and a terrible equity analyst. So today I'm going to talk about using ingredient standards to protect food quality and integrity. And in today's presentation, first I will talk about what ingredient standards are, why we use them, and why we use Food Chemicals Codex, FCC. And second, I will briefly introduce FCC analytical materials. And first, ingredient standard. What is ingredient standard? It is the set of criteria that an ingredient must meet if it is to be suitable for human consumption. And this is adapted from a Dictionary of Food and Nutrition 2005 by Oxford University Press. So let's break it down. When we say suitable for human consumption, it really means food grade for probable suitable for human consumption. And when we talk about the set of criteria that an ingredient must meet, really the analogy is like the speed limit and the speedometer. So like speed limit, that we need to have specifications describe what should be, and like speedometer, that we need to have methods to measure what it is in reality. And most of the times that the specification is linked to the method that you use. So you really need to validate them together. So why do we need ingredient standards? Let's take a look at this. So here is a very complicated map, and it is showing a few commodities such as the walnuts and cashew nuts and others. So they are really shipped from around the world to many locations. And you can tell that this is not really linear, and it's more like a complicated network. So that creates problems, right? So producing foods that are safe, nutritious, honest requires control and communications along the whole supply chain. And the food supply chains are complex, non-linear, and subject to sudden disruptions, such as the logistic issues or natural disasters and others. So this creates multiple opportunities for misunderstanding, miscommunications, mishandling, fraud, and intentional adulterations. So standards are really a critical tool for mitigating this risk, and we will elaborate in the following slides. First, let's talk about the food supply chain risks. So the risks really arise from deliberate actions, accidents, inexperience, or carelessness anywhere in the supply chain. Manufacturers are always responsible for assessing and mitigating this risk. And the other big issue is intentional adulteration risk. As related to safety, I have a few examples. So this is not a new thing. It's back to 1850s. So it's called swill milk scandal. Cows were actually fed with swill, which was the residue mesh from nearby distilleries. The milk was whitened with plaster of Paris, thickened with starch and eggs, and hued with molasses. It's said that 8,000 babies were dead related to this incident. And many of you may be familiar with the melamine incident in China. So back in 2008, melamine was illegally added into milk to artificially boost up the apparent protein content. It's said that 300,000 babies were sickened. And to this date, I think the Chinese parents are still, many of them are still not trusting the domestic manufacturers because of this issue. And in 2013, in Brazil, there is an incident called compensated milk. In about 100 million liters of milk, an estimate of 1 million pounds of formaldehyde containing urea was added. And more recently, in 2019, there is a synthetic milk incident. Factories manufactured synthetic milk by adding chemicals such as the sodium thiosulfate, caustic soda, chloroform, palmolene oil, hydrogen peroxide, maltodextrin, and shampoo, etc., into the milk. And scores of people were arrested due to this incident. And intentional adulteration also comes with other risks. So people who adulterate foods are unlikely to operate under GMPs or HACCP. So adulteration can affect nutritional values, for example, by reducing or eliminating vitamins and micronutrients. And fraud can also involve virtual traits such as the organic, country of origin, sustainable, etc. So what are the manufacturer's responsibilities? According to GFSI auditing scheme, there are two aspects. 8.1, it says that a food fraud vulnerability assessment procedure shall be established, implemented, and maintained to identify potential vulnerability and prioritize food fraud mitigation measures. And 8.2, it says that a documented food fraud plan shall be in place, specifying the measures implemented to mitigate the public health risk from identified food fraud vulnerabilities. So in short, that both assessment and mitigations are required. And in addition, in SQF standard, that it has requirements on specifications for all raw and packaging materials, including those additives, hazardous chemicals, processing aids. Those should be documented and kept current. And the material suppliers shall be selected and approved based on their ability to supply the materials that meet the quality specifications. And those material suppliers should only be accepted into the facility based on either the COAs for every lot received or inspection at receipt to ensure materials comply with the specifications. And what's more, the site shall document and implement a positive product release procedure to ensure that the food supplies complies with all agreed customer requirements, including but not limited to the product specifications. So that's why that we need to have ingredient standards. So the manufacturers need practical tools for mitigating the risk and protecting the integrity of their products and materials. And ingredient standards are just one of those tools that can be used. Okay, so we know that ingredient standards are important and useful. And now I would like to introduce one of the main ingredient standards in the world. So this is Food Chemicals Codex. So it's a compendium of intentionally recognized standards for the identity and purity of food ingredients. This is created by the US FDA and the Institute of Medicine in 1966. It is currently published by US Pharmacopoeia, a nonprofit organization. We have about 1250 standards for additives, ingredients, and other food chemicals. The standards are developed by the expert volunteers independently, and we claim ourselves a fully independent source of food ingredient standards. So let's take a look at what an FCC standard look like. So if you can tell here on the left side, these are the general information that includes the description, chemical information. And we also on the right side that we have specifications and methods. So the identification is to tell the substance what it claims to be. And assay is the purity or strength of the substance. Impurities such as the heavy metals and byproducts, and specific tests that provides additional specification and tests for ensuring the quality of the product. And here is a real example of an FCC standard, riboflavin, also called vitamin B2. So if you take a look at the head of the standards, it really has the synonyms, chemical structure, chemical formula, weight, and the class number, description, and function, and packaging and storage conditions. And on the rest of the body, it has the step-by-step test protocols to guide analysts to conduct the experiments, and also has the acceptance criteria to tell you what is acceptable as a quality product or a food grade ingredient. So we know that at every step in the supply chain from farm to consumer, appropriate specifications are needed, and establishing and agreeing on specifications is not that easy. So customer may require one thing and then the supplier may provide another thing. And using the FCC specifications and can ensure the common expectation for everyone regardless of the location or technical expertise or resources. Ingredient providers can use the specifications to describe what is available, and ingredient users can use those specifications to define what is expected. And when we use the FCC standards, the only way to know if a material matches the specifications is to test using the methods in the FCC or other ingredient standards. So protection needs to focus on the actual physical ingredients, and this is very important. There are a lot of buzzes about the blockchain and the traceability and those digital tools, but they cannot be completely replacing the physical methods. And false or inaccurate data can be put into the blockchain or into those documentations, but still they can still pass that the verification and those. The chain of commerce is not really the chain of custody. So that's the small takeaway here. And now let me turn over to introduction of FCC analytical materials. So FCC analytical materials are fit for purpose materials designed specifically for the food industry and can be used for method development, verification, transfer, life cycle management, method validation, or for other purpose. So we have a few examples here. So the gluten in oat flour is released. So as we know, a lot of stakeholders are concerned about having unintentionally gluten contamination in some of the gluten-free products. So this materials has 7 individual packs that include rye and wheat gluten in various concentrations. So those concentrations are based on gravimetric addition without deliberate testing to reduce the cost. And the other one in progress is whey protein. So there are 4 individual packs and 1 whey protein concentrate and 3 whey protein isolates based on different processing conditions. The identification is based on 4 different state-of-the-art methods. And we are also including validated methods and data to help stakeholders to develop and validate or transfer their own methods. So those are some examples that we have. And in terms of what are the next FAMs, and we have some ideas, but we want to have your feedbacks. So here is a 6-minute survey to help shape our next products. You can either use the link below or use the QR code. Just use your cell phone to scan it, and then you can get access to the survey. As a token of appreciation, those who attend or participants who complete the survey will be provided 1 month of free access to the Food Chemicals Codex. And some final thoughts. We live in a dynamic environment that can and does change rapidly. So don't assume that what you knew yesterday about your supply chain is still true today. And the only thing that you can ensure is to test yourself or by a trusted lab. So always communicate, check, and repeat. And that's all for my presentation today. And thank you so much for your attention. And here is my email address. Feel free to have your suggestions, comments, feedbacks sent to my email. Thank you so much.